DSEI 2019 set up a space hub to kind of test the water. And then obviously things have really mushroomed and grown in the last couple of years to the point where we had Space Command set up in this year. We had the Space Directorate set up last year. So space is really, really growing. So Clarion and the DSEI team took me on to try and grow that space hub to reflect the importance of it in today's world, and really to move from DSEI as a standalone event that's 3 days or 4 days every 2 years into a process of engagement with the wider community. I think earlier this year there was the integrated review and then the Defence Command paper. So I think some of the building blocks have been put in place with those. Also, if you look at everything over the last 2 years, from the setup of the National Space Council to the setup of the Space Directorate to the setup of Space Command this year. And then there's a whole pile of other things like the National Space Academy, the propulsion test facility that's been set up in the UK, and a whole pile of other things that have already been announced, plus the 16.5 billion over the next 4 years into defence as well, a good chunk of which is going to go to space. What I'd be expecting from both the Defence Space Strategy and the National Space Strategy is how those building blocks start to cohere together, and how those things mesh together and show how the space is going forward as the UK and as defence. The Ministry of Defence, I think, are acutely aware that they're probably not going to own all the capability that they need access to. So then it's a case of how do we get hold of that capability in a sort of assured manner, in a way that we can get unfettered access to it when we really need it. So certain things you probably are going to have to own. Certain things you can just access, and as long as you've put mechanisms in place to ensure that you've always got access to those things, that's probably okay. And then the third one is collaborate, that the Ministry of Defence and the wider government are looking at, and that's collaboration not only with private industry but also with national governments and particularly our allies and friends on the international stage. So I think collaboration and cooperation is going to be a key pillar of defence strategy going forward. I think first and foremost, from the government's perspective, or from the Ministry of Defence's perspective, the three things that any attendees are going to get are visibility of the strategy. Hopefully, as we said, the National Space Strategy will be published by then. The second is how defence particularly are organising themselves for space. So how Space Directorate mesh with Space Command, mesh with Strategic Command, mesh with the agencies of DSTL and DNS and those sorts of things. And then the third thing, which I think is probably the most important to industry and exhibitors, is how can you do business in that new regime? So how do you interact with the Ministry of Defence if you want to do business, whether that's an upfront innovation project or a downstream sort of decommissioning of a satellite. So hopefully you'll come away with those three things. I think the shows, the presentations on each day are very good, I've got to say that. So Air Vice Marshal Harv Smith is going to be speaking on day one. He's the Space Director. Air Vice Marshal Paul Godfrey, who's the Space Commander, he's going to be speaking on day two. But on day two, I think there's a couple of really interesting talks. One on dual use technology. So there we'll see a demonstration of technologies that are already used in the commercial world, but could be used in the defence and military realm. I think that's going to be really interesting what comes up. And then the other presentation that I think will be really interesting is the one I spoke about earlier, which is the own access collaborate. So owning capabilities, whether you access them. In the access bit, again, there's going to be a lot of commercial services and products demonstrated there that military could use on. So I think that's going to widen the scope of what people look at in terms of capability that could be used in a space domain.